much for joining me. We have an interesting video that was requested to show makeup off camera versus makeup on camera. So let me just show you really quickly the off camera. Let me put a little divider here versus on camera. So I know it's a little bit hard to see here when I'm wearing them side by side like this. We are using mostly Chanel products here today, so I'm going to show you some of the main similarities and differences and how we got here. So let's go ahead and get started. So this first step is one of the biggest differences between real life makeup and on-camera makeup, because I like to do a really natural, very second skin-like, almost imperceptible look when it comes to real life makeup, but I know it does not play well on camera. We're gonna go in with this number 1 to Chanel. This is their Red Camellia Skin Enhancer, and it's in medium coral. So I'm going to actually apply this pretty lightly, just all over. You can see it adds a little bit of color, it warms up my skin tone slightly. So I'm going to apply it here, and then I'm going to do a little bit of mixing because I have the other one as well. I have here soft pink, and the interior of my face is a different color than the exterior of my face. You can see how even this will add some color to my skin. I think it really neutralizes some of the dullness in my skin that I can get. But you can see here, it's going to be too dark for the center. So I do get questions about what shade I use in Chanel, because kind of a wide range based on the specific area of my face. So that's why I'm taking a little bit of soft pink right now, and I am going to mix these two so I can apply this to the center of my face without adding too much color. When I add too much color, it looks kind of muddy on my skin tone. I really like the dry down here. Yeah, I really like this for the evening especially. You can see how it blurs. It blurred that dark spot right there. And that's what I like about it as well, because it doesn't necessarily cover up skin, but it blurs imperfections. So you can still see I've got imperfections here. I'm actually gonna go a little bit under the eye with that pink, just to brighten a little bit. So not perfect at all, just a little bit blurred, a little bit brightened, and took the dullness away. So you can see it's a little dull here versus here. Really like that. Okay, now for the on-camera side, I will typically go in with a primer first because we want everything to look really perfected. So I have here two. I have the mattifying primer by Chanel, as well as the Le Base Illuminatrice. I love these both, but I've been testing out, like I really like this one for a little bit of glow, but let's do this one for mattifying, because on camera, usually if it looks smooth, it looks better. As we know, anything illuminating can bring out any kind of texture, any kind of imperfections. So if I really want to perfect, I'm going to go in with this mattifying base. I'm going to put more of it here in the center where I have texture, and then add a thinner layer everywhere else. Also, real life makeup takes a lot faster for me, so let that settle. Going in next with one of Chanel's most foundation-y foundations. If you haven't seen my video, I've tried all of the Chanel foundations, and most of them are very natural, which I love about Chanel. They're very natural, they bring out natural beauty, doesn't cover up skin, but this is the most foundation-y foundation they have. If you're used to foundations from other lines where you do get a lot of coverage and it stays for a long time in place, this is the one I would pick. It's the Ultra Latin, and this one I selected because it is so perfecting, and it's also in my ideal shade match, BD41. Now when I apply this, I'm not going to apply the same amount everywhere though. I could, but I just like to add coverage where I need it. So even though it's on camera, I still like to maintain as little of a mask-like appearance as possible. I don't prefer makeup that looks like a mask. I have a Shiseido brush here. Okay, so you should be able to see here a difference between the two. I'm gonna add a little bit more just to the front here, but it does look like a much more perfected kind of base right now. And that's even before concealer. So we're gonna go in with a little bit more. This is more than I would normally apply. Yeah, more flawless makeup usually takes a little bit more product. I'm just focusing that more towards the center. Yeah, my next choice, if you don't like this formula because it's too makeup-y, I would pick the one in the jar. The Sublimage Le Temps, the one in the jar, would be the one that I would pick if I wanted something a little bit more moisturizing, but it has a really nice hold. It has a really nice life about it. Yeah, that one wears really well as well, but I think has a little bit more skincare benefits in it compared to this. So this is lovely. It does look nice throughout the day. But if I wanted something a little bit more rich, that would be a nice choice. Okay, so we've got the foundation on here. I have quite a bit of coverage. So as you can see, I'm going to need less concealer here, but it doesn't have the same skin-like quality. But you can definitely see I have something covering my skin versus here, just filtering my skin. Okay, let's go in with eye concealer. This is where we're going to use one non-Chanel product and a Chanel product. In real life, for a really natural under eye concealer, I go in with the Le Camoflauge Stylo by CHANTECAILLE. I use shade 4C, and I just take a little bit of it and apply right here, just like this. And then I use my clean hands, although I have a little bit of makeup here. Use my clean hands and I just tap like this. Real life makeup also is very quick and quite effortless application because it's also not perfect. But my goal with real life makeup is to look like I'm not wearing any makeup, or very little at least. So just a little bit of concealing there. I didn't conceal under my entire eye area. We're gonna do some really perfecting concealing under the eye using the Sublimage Eye Concealer by Chanel in 40. This really is the loveliest concealer. I think I had questions about if this is a little bit dry for you. The Le Camoflauge Stylo is actually quite nice. It's nice and hydrating as well. Doesn't take very much to do this. But this does have a nice dry down, so I don't need to powder this concealer either. Yeah, you can tell a big difference there with the concealer, but I don't need to powder it. Almost looks like my eye is smaller here, doesn't it? I haven't done this side by side before. And then I take the Le Camoflauge Stylo again, and I'm going to brighten just that darkest spot under the eye. Very strategic placement of this product. Then we are going to take care of this area where we need to take care of the dark spots. Now, I am really enjoying this product by Jones Road Beauty. It's their color corrector in light peach. And this wears so well throughout the day. It really meshes nicely with the skin. It's so easy to use because you could see that we did have some darkness there, but I just added a little bit. So that's it. And then maybe just a little down here, just for this discoloration. And then I have a number 12, which is got, it's not necessarily green, but here is the color. It's more like a yellowy, so I'm gonna use that for the redness here. It's closer to green than the other one I have. So that's why I'm using it in this area where I have just a touch of redness. Yeah, you can get some like grayness here as well. So this peach works really nicely. Light peach, that is. But it's almost like an eraser. I love products like that. It kind of reminds me of the Charlotte Tilbury, that color corrector in the little compact, but this one is a lot easier to use and it stays put for a really nice amount of time. Okay, we're gonna go in here with, of course, Clé de Peau, and I love this one because it is a very serious concealer. It's got SPF in it, SPF 27. So this is number 5, Honey. This works really well with BD 41. This has a nice warmth about it, so it works really well with BD 41. And then I have Mocha, which I'll use with cooler toned, like if I had B40. Mocha would be a nice match as well for that one. And you can see how heavy duty that concealing is compared to this one. Just cleaned off that brush and I'm using it to also blend this in just a little bit. Okay, so I think it's really interesting that you see so much dimension here when I don't have all of this makeup on versus here. It looks very flat. I haven't done anything in terms of contour or anything. So I'm gonna take a little bit of loose powder over here on this side, just on this side. I don't use this for off camera as much because it takes more time to have this step. Unless I'm really oily, then I'll do this first. Yeah, this is number 30. This is a La Mer brush. Just a light dusting. You can see here also it smooths the texture. Here you can definitely see like the actual skin, which I like in real life. I really like that. And then in terms of Chanel powder, you know, I love the Perfect Blur powder by CHANTECAILLE, but this is the next best thing when it comes to especially Chanel products. I didn't have a nice powder that could finish off everything, and this is the LeBlanc Brightening Compact Foundation. And it's not a powder per se. I use it as a powder. I'm going to apply it to both sides because I like to just meld everything together here, only in the center. For my off-camera makeup, I'll apply it just in the center. I might apply this in the evening as well, even though it has SPF 25. I will still wear it in the evening. And then I'm applying it to this side as well. So I think it does a nice job of just pulling everything together, using it as a bit of a finishing step. So I really haven't applied powder here at all. I like the glow there. Let's go in with brows. So there's going to be a big difference here. I think base, brows, and eyes are probably the biggest differences you'll see. I'm going to take this Jones Road Beauty because I really like this. It's really nice. Their brow gel. And this is in light brunette. So I'm just going to pass through with this gel, and that's going to be it. As you can see, it does deposit some nice color onto the brows, but it also holds really well. I've shown this with the Dior brow, but this one has more hold. Yeah, that's it for the brow for the off camera. Now for on camera, we're gonna use the Chanel brow product. And this is nice and perfecting if you want perfected brows. So this is in the shade 03 Dark, and I'm going to go in with the powder side. I've got a Patrick Ta brow brush. I really like this. It's very precise. I'd like to just build the actual shape first. And this is my unruly brow over here. This is a multi-step brow when I do on camera. So you can see very different there. Let's go in with this brow gel. Same brow gel, just because again, the hold is so great on this and it doesn't build a lot of chunkiness, which I've noticed with other stronger hold brow gels, there's some chunkiness involved, but this is nice and refined. And then we're going to go in with this Babyblade by Victoria Beckham, just to perfect right up here and any sparse areas I might find. This is one of the biggest differences in terms of the time it takes to get ready for on-camera makeup is the brow. But you can also see how much light comes through the brows here versus this brow. For off-camera makeup, I'm going to use this #1 Max REPHR brush. And I have here the Chanel 236 Brun Talpa, which is a lovely, cool shade. And I just do a really quick sweep. A really quick sweep. No primer for this. I just sweep it on really quickly. And then I will go in, and this might help. I still use this off camera though. The Trench by Victoria Beckham. And I think you're going to see a big difference here right with this step. I just go right under that lash line. You can even go in the waterline. So yeah, they're starting to come together a little bit. Yeah, I'll even go in with the Clé de Peau over here, off camera makeup, just because this makes a big difference whether I'm on or off camera, and it's pretty imperceptible. Okay, let's go in with this side. Of course, I will use a primer. So we're gonna take a CHANTECAILLE Next Generation primer, the eye base. Let's go in with Tisse Rivoli. And this is my favorite Chanel palette. If you haven't seen this, I featured this so many times. This shade right here, all over the lid, I have so many different ways that I use this palette. You can do a one and done with this as well. I guess I could have shown that as a one and done. This is a nice actual side by side, so you can see the difference between the new formulation of that single eyeshadow versus Tisse Rivoli. Tisse Rivoli has a more of a, even though I think this is categorized as a satin, this really has a true satiny kind of finish. For 15 mini here, I'm gonna use this as a crease color. I'm just gonna build that up. You'll see in a moment what I do here. So really building up some depth here for on camera. So still I've just used one, but we're going to go in with this 14 mini. I'm going to take this deepest shade here and I'm going to apply it to the outer corner. And a little bit into the crease, just right here. This is the easiest way to do this if you're looking to add some depth but not get out of control, because I know I used to just end up all the way out here and it was a big mess. So here it keeps a little tighter. So you can see how I'm just letting the end of this brush just push into the crease there. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to find that crease, so I just let the brush figure it out for me. I'm gonna take this same lighter shade here that I started with, I'm going to blend that in. We can see how, again, the brush does the work of just distributing and blending that for me. I didn't do much there at all. Let's take this lighter shade and I'm going to place it in the middle just to brighten. Shows a lot more dimension for on versus off camera. Simple, simple. I'm going to add Faux Longest Lash Mascara on both sides. That's what I do off camera. I love this mascara for both off and on. So I'll add a little bit more on this side than on this side. I went a little bit more intense on the maybe like 2 or 3 more coats over here of mascara than over here. We're going to do the same thing in terms of cleaning up this area by using Trench. Then using Clé de Peau as well. Okay, this next step is both for off and on camera because I love this to help perfect. It's the Valentino 9 blush, and just is such a natural blush that it's almost like part of my finishing powder almost, in that it helps to perfect this front area. It's skin flattering. It just makes everything look alive, and it's very subtle as well. So it's very close to not actually wearing blush because it's also slow building. Next up, let's go in with something I have been using both on and off camera because I love it that much. I'm going to run this through as a bronzer. So we'll do the bronzer step first. And I'm okay if I get a little bit of this reflective powder in there because it's really subtle. So we're just gonna build as I would build a bronzer underneath the cheekbone area, but I'm going to go heavier on this side than I would in real life. Like you can see, you can get some definition in there if you really want. And this side is not as defined on my face as this side is anyway, but I go really high with placement here, just like that. Okay, we're going to do this on this other side as well, but I'm not going to hold the brush as tightly. I'm just going to swipe it. So I'm turning the brush actually this way so it is wider and less defined. And going into the forehead area as well, and then over here. So it's all very soft. It still does a similar effect, but it's not as defined here. I'm gonna take this bronzer again and just do this and then go around the perimeter now and kind of buff that all together. But I'm going to have more of a contrast here than here. Now we're going to go in with this illuminating powder and we're going to go across. I do this both on and off camera, so I'll just go across the forehead like that. I'm also going to go across the nose like this because I do this on and off camera now. Well, depending on the look, but I will do this on camera and off camera. Actually quite a bit off camera because I think it looks so natural here. I'm going to add a little bit more for the off camera look. I'm going to add a little bit to the chin area, which is what I do for both, because I know my chin can tend to be a little bit too light compared to its natural color. And then I'll just kind of run the illuminating powder on this side, on the high points, a little bit more than I would over here on the on-camera version, because the camera doesn't really like glow as much. Then on camera, I will go in and intensify this blush. I'm going to take this blush and add it right there to this point, this highest point right here, right under the eye. And it already has a little bit of that bronzer and everything else mixed in, so it mutes it down a little bit. And then we have a little bit more of a illuminated kind of effect with that blush as well, because it's got a glow to it, but really just right there strategically. I love these Rouge Coco Bombs for every day. They're really easy to use. I have several. We're going to go in with Natural Charm because this is quite muted. This one's very similar to my lip color. Very natural. Over here for lips, we have a totally different story for on camera because I know that brighter, more intense lip colors translate really well on camera. So that's why I will use this more for camera versus real life. This can be a little bit too bold in real life depending on the kind of eye makeup I have, so I have to be really careful. But I'm gonna go in with this. It's a really beautiful berry toned lip liner in 182. So I'm just going to add it here. Let me do a little half so you can see exactly where that goes. And then for the lip, we're going to go in with the Rouge Allure Lustre, and this is in the shade 832 Rouge Libre. I know it looks like we are done. We're almost done, but I wanted to just show you a couple more steps that happen more on camera versus not on camera. Yeah, sometimes I'll do this off camera as well, but I think for this purpose, to show just the extremes, I'm going to add a little bit of the Victoria Beckham contour in Marble just to define my nose, because on camera, you don't see as much dimension. Everything looks more flat. It looks two-dimensional, of course, than in real life. So I'll add a little bit more of a shadow with this product, just because I think my nose gets lost in here sometimes. With all of the lights. So just a little bit there. I mean, actually it looks like I have a bridge here. And it's, again, I think you see the dimension with less makeup on camera. We're going to add a little bit of glow, and I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm going to take a bit of the Perfect Blur powder because I do this almost every time, regardless of the kind of powder I have on. This one right here, just to blend everything in. So I'll stamp just to perfect a little bit more, because you can see how doing this really perfects the front of my face versus here if I just leave it as is. And then I like to just go around the perimeter here to soften the blush. And then I make sure I go above my eyebrows because the light can really bounce right here. You can see over there. If I don't do that on camera, it just is a bit distracting on camera. I can go in with a little bit of this for the off camera, just a little bit. I don't want to take down too much of the glow, so I think it looks really skin-like. Make sure I cover those same areas just right here, especially next to the nose, above the eyebrow, and then right around the mouth, just lightly, really lightly. Very different level of powder use there. One last thing, I'm going to take a bit of something that glows, but more in a texture kind of way. We've got one of the Baume Essentiels in Transparent by Chanel, and I just put a little bit on the back of my hand like this, and I'm going to just pat it on my cheeks like this. Not my cheeks, but right here on the highest point. Just a little bit, just to add some of that healthy glow back to the skin. And then even here, just a little bit. I don't love highlighter in general, like a powder highlighter, but I like the glow because I think it looks really skin-like. And that's one way to bring back a little bit of that skin-like quality to more perfected makeup. So just perfect the eyebrows. Like, this is another thing I do on camera a lot, is I'm perfecting these eyebrows throughout as I watch how it looks. I feel like I could just add a little bit more here. And off camera, I don't really worry about my brows once I've got the gel on, that's it. I don't really think about it after that, but on camera, I'm always looking at these brows. I'm going to comb through these so that it doesn't look so solid, especially down here at the bottom. I'm not necessarily even combing through the whole thing. It's really just right here where you see the distinct line. I'm trying to break that up a little bit down here as well as on the top. Let me just make sure it's a little softer. Yeah, this can consume a lot of my time. Brows, because I think if it's not done well, I'm really, really distracted by my brows when I feel like they're not where I want them to be. Just for reference, let me do a side-by-side here where I cover up one side of the face so you can just see the side where I am wearing just off-camera makeup. And now let me show you the side where I'm just wearing on-camera makeup. Okay, so let me just lean in here so you can get a really nice look at the makeup. And hopefully you can see why I really like this look off camera. Plus it feels really comfortable. Not that this foundation actually is quite comfortable, but I just feel like it's a low maintenance. I feel like I don't have to worry if something goes out of place because it's pretty much my skin that's just showing through, and it leaves a little bit of room for that real life skin look, which I really like. I really like the look of real skin just enhanced. I think this side really allows all that work I do with skincare to show through because I really like most of my skin. It's just this part that really is something I continue to work on and work on. So if I can ever find a solution to wear less makeup here, then application will actually go much faster. Oddly, with all this makeup, one of my goals is to not really wear makeup like this. I think this looks really perfected. I think it looks really good on camera. It actually looks quite nice in real life now that I'm looking at it side by side, but it just doesn't have the same no makeup quality that this does. This really looks like I don't have much, if any, makeup on in real life if you were to see this. But here, it's not super obvious makeup, but side by side, you can definitely see I've done something to cover up the skin pretty well here in the front, and that I've applied it all over my face. Also, the eyebrows, I think, are one of the biggest differences, but I know this doesn't read well on camera. It just looks off balance. And then the eyes, you can see there's just more definition here with the shadow, although it was really easy to do that. I prefer this off camera because it's not as makeup-y, I'm gonna say. And then the concealer as well. I love this for every day. I think this is a great everyday eye concealer, but I also really like this. It's less perfected. So I think both of these have their purposes and whatever side you like to do. Some people really enjoy this transformation. I think it's more of a transformation on this side with makeup and the power of makeup. I think that's one of the most interesting things to me about cosmetics is how transformative it can be. It can really lift the face. I think it looks more lifted here. I look more professional here, I think. I think that's a really great way to think about this kind of makeup. And it also addresses things that I'm concerned about, like the darkness up here. I think it looks really nice. I think you can't tell at all that I have dark spots here with this kind of makeup. Pros over here are that I feel like this is really the essence that I go for, which is effortless, undetectable makeup is really what I'm going for. I think this is just more skin enhancing, beautiful, and less maintenance. Another pro is that this looks nice, of course, on video, as well as in photos. I think this really looks nice in photos because, again, you go from the 3-dimensional to the 2-dimensional, and so any kind of depth of light and dark works really well with any kind of camera. Cons, this takes longer. Also, it's a little bit more high maintenance when it comes to eating, like the lipstick and things like that. I would have to think about and worry about. And again, if there's any one imperfection, it will stand out on this side just because everything else is perfected. A con over here is that, yeah, it's not gonna look great on camera or in pictures because, again, it doesn't provide that much dimension. I would probably look really shiny here if you took a picture of me, and it looks a little bit shiny on camera, and I feel like you can't really see the makeup, but that's kind of the point. But if I'm trying to do a makeup video so you can see makeup, I do have to apply more of it so you can see it. So depending on the look that you prefer, maybe you like this every day, maybe you like this every day, but regardless, I think both of these looks show the power of makeup. They are just used differently, but makeup is so powerful, and that's why I love makeup and technology that's infused into the makeup. And anytime a new product comes out that I think can do an amazing job of either one of these, that's when I get really interested and want to try them out. But I hope that was helpful. Let me know if there are any tips and tricks that you have about either one of these looks. I'd love to learn from you. You always have some great ideas. But that is it for today's video, so please take care of each other. Stay well. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.